Spend my days with a woman unkind, smoke my stuff and drink all my wine. Made up my mind, make a new start, going to California with an aching in my heart. Someone told me there's a girl out there with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair. Took my chances on a big jet plane. Never let them tell you that we're all the same. Oh, the sea was red and the sky was gray. I wondered how tomorrow could ever follow today. Mountains and the canyons started to tremble and shake. The children of the sun begin to wake. Watch out. It seems that the wrath of the gods got a punch on the nose and it's starting to flow. I think I might be sinking. Throw me a line if I reach it in time. Meet you up there at the path runs straight high. Find a queen without a king. They say she plays guitar and cries and sings. La la la. Ride a white mare in the footsteps of dawn, trying to find a woman who's never, never, never been born. Standing on the hill in the mountain of dreams, telling myself it's not as hard as it seems. Spend my days with a woman unkind, smoke my stuff and drink all my wine. Made up my mind, make a new start, going to California with an aching in my heart. Someone told me there's a girl out there with love in her eyes and flowers in her hair. Took my chances on a big jet plane. Never let them tell you that we're all the same. Oh, the sea was red and the sky was gray. I wondered how tomorrow could ever follow today. Mountains and the canyons started to tremble and shake. The children of the sun begin to wake. Watch out. Seems that the wrath of the gods got a punch on the nose and it's starting to flow. I think I might be sinking. Throw me a line if I reach it in time. Meet you up there at the path runs straight. To find a queen without a king, they say she plays guitar and cries and sings. La la la. Ride a white mare in the footsteps of dawn, trying to find a woman who's never, never, never been born. Standing on the hill in the mountain of dreams, telling myself it's not as hard as it seems.
Well, fellas, we are back live once again.
Yeah, we are.
For those not aware, that was "Going to California" by Led Zeppelin. I feel the need to say that because I'm starting to learn quickly that none of the songs I ever play are known by Jackson. So if Jackson doesn't know them, there's a high percentage chance that those of you listening also have never heard of them. But that aside, boys, big night in baseball. I know it's close to college football season. That's not what we're here to talk about, Jackson. So we're going to have to put our baseball hats back on and focus up a little bit. But no, big night for baseball. A couple debuts, Peyton Tolley for the Red Sox, Jonah Tong for the Mets. The Mets currently taking an absolute paddle to the Marlins. The hitters 2 through 6 in the Mets lineup right now are 7 for 8 with 8 of the 10 RBIs. That good? That works?
It's okay. I mean, I would take it on any given night.
Oh, my gosh. Peyton Tolley going against Paul Skeens in Fenway tonight. Boston just took a 1-0 lead on a pretty poor throw on a tough play by Pirates third baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who, while playing third base for the Pirates, is actually technically out on waivers. But because he hasn't been claimed, still can play for them at this current moment. We're going to get to that situation, and I'm glad that he actually did something in this scenario that gave us something worthwhile to talk about. But the Pirates are doing something and have been doing something for the last couple of years now, twice this year. At some point, it's got to be investigated by the MLBPA. Like, it's almost so forthright. I don't even know what to say about it other than, like, we have to figure something else out. Because, A, the Pirates are not going to be able to sign anybody. They're not going to be able to get creative with contracts because nobody's going to believe they're going to get their money. And before we go into that deeper, I saw in the chat my cousin's husband, also my cousin, said C.J. Abrams just got rung up on one of the worst calls I've ever seen. Ryan, I don't know if you're also watching the Nationals game, but it just feels like that's par for the course for the Nats at this point in the year.
Yeah, there's a reason why Jonah Tong's first start is what's on my TV screen right now. It's been a tough year.
Some might call you a bad Nats fan. That's okay. I would never say that.
Listen,
never.
Not a bad Nats fan. I think I'm an honest Nats fan.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right way to say it.
Tonight I'm watching a guy that we're going to have to learn how to hit over the next 6 years. No other way for me to put that.
You're scouting.
You're scouting ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know, the
Do
funny
some
thing
scouting
is you
editing.
guys make that joke, but I was sitting here deciding whether or not I was going to watch Tolly or Tong, and it was a really easy option for me. I'm going to watch the guy who's going to try to beat us for the next 6 years.
Did it
I don't know
ever
how to put
enter
it.
your brain to turn on the Nationals game?
Yes, it did. Actually, I got on, and the Nats game was already on. It was 0-0. Parker was on the hill, and I said to myself, you know what? I've had a long week. Work has been tough. I don't think I need to put myself through what I know is going to happen tonight.
I choose
So-
life.
Yeah, listen, man.
I have a
I
better
had multiple
question.
sleepless nights at work. It's just what it is.
I have a better question. Did you ever consider throwing both on at the same time? Or is that just a
I
me
can't
thing?
on Roku. You cannot do split screen for MLB, so I have to
Oh,
make a
boy.
decision. It's a really large disappointment, if I'm
Yeah,
being honest. So
shout out Roku for
Ah.
really having a poor platform.
yeah, you know,
That's why the Roku TVs cost like $70. I got one
Hey,
too.
now.
I'm in the same boat.
Vizio's where it's at.
I also want to say real quick
Samsung
before
has
we
none
dive
of the
into
good
the
applications.
Kiner Falefa stuff
Yeah.
and the Haney stuff, just so everybody knows, and this is good for you too. Put on outright waivers. That just means they can trade him to a playoff team. Let's pop off of that real quick. Some bad information was thrown out earlier today, so we're not going to jump on that soapbox.
No, all I'm saying is like there is very much intent there. It's not just so that he can be traded. Like, let's be honest here. If there wasn't a track record, if they didn't just do the same thing with Andrew Heaney a week and a half ago, didn't do the
Rowdy
same thing with
Tellez.
Rowdy Tellez last year, I don't think as many people would jump on it. But like, let's be honest here about what the Pirates have been doing and what Bob Nutting has been doing in that organization for a while. A large part of it is, how do I not have to pay these guys as much as I owe them?
Sure. Yeah.
$250,000 to that organization shouldn't be a lot of money,
That should
considering
be one
they're
game
the
to
fourth.
concessions.
Considering
So-
they're the fourth lowest payroll team in the league.
I couldn't agree with you more. Part of what I'm seeing though with those two guys going on outright waivers to be traded is a front office that recognizes they made a really, really poor decision of not taking the offers that they had at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
I think that has
absolutely.
a ton of what to do with what this is for them this year. What they did last year was pretty egregious a couple of
Well,
times.
yeah. I mean, Andrew Heaney being DFA'd at the same time.
Yes.
At the same time, he was talked about as being a trade piece and never released in a trade. Makes no sense to me. Like,
Pretty
at
tough.
least, you know, like you said, put him on outright waivers and see if you can get something for him. I don't know, but it is an absolute mess situationally. And Kiner Falefa's having a solid year. Like, might be a solid defensive piece for the Yankees to bring back, if we're going to be honest.
The one
Can use
thing
some fundamentals.
The one thing to bring up there is teams like the Pirates, who aren't as good, have a lower payroll. They rely heavily on prove-it deals, and
Yes.
it's going to become real hard really soon for a free agent to sign a prove-it deal with them, given the track record. If I'm a free agent and a team like the White Sox, a team like the Nationals, a team like the Rockies is reaching out for a prove-it deal, and the Pirates are also in there, I'm not touching the Pirates.
Well, because a lot of these prove it deals, right? If the Pirates say we'll give you $2 million with incentives, and somebody else says I'll give you $1 million with incentives, same incentives, I think I go elsewhere because I actually think I can get the incentives. Right? I mean, reality is you might end up making the same amount of money, but the other opportunity there is if you're playing for a better organization or an organization that's willing to trade you in the middle of a prove it year, it actually might happen and you might get into an even better situation.
Look at Adrian Hauser.
I literally just tweeted about him. He has one
I
of
saw that.
he has
Good work.
I'm not hold on. I wasn't wrong though. I'm not a pitching guy, but I'm not wrong about his sinker, right? Like,
No, his sinker's great. His sinker's great.
could be one of the most devastating sinkers in the league if it's utilized. I mean, he uses the entire zone with it. I'd like to see him hone it into certain spots maybe a little bit more, not the middle of the plate nearly as much, but it's a pretty disgusting pitch as far as how much it moves.
Pitch,
I mean, to get something that's 6+ IVB on a sinking fastball that also runs 17 inches arm side is, I mean, that's a pitch you can run up in the zone pretty easily and get a lot of swings and misses.
Very fun.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah. So look at me, not a pitching guy, never claimed to be, but I can see. These
Welcome
peepers,
to the club.
as Ryan said so kindly to Brad Lidge, these peepers can tell you something here and there. So I told everybody to make sure that they change their name this week. Speaking of Brad Lidge, to a teammate of Brad Lidge. As you guys know, we always come in with names of guys who used to play in the big leagues. I went for a double whammy this week because players are back on campus for college baseball, and they're week one of practice in Division I baseball at a lot of places just finished up today. And so I picked Kirk Saarloos because little do people know, he pitched for like a pretty good stretch. Got a pretty good cup of coffee in the big leagues. Happened to be with Brad Lidge in Houston alongside other guys like Billy Wagner and Octavio Dotel and some other really high level, high leverage arms. So that's who I chose. What about you guys? What was the reasoning there? Just a fun
Matt
name that you
Albers,
saw?
a fun name, and that's a guy I also remember.
Yeah.
Like I remember Brad Lidge a little bit, but he also retired on 7 or 8. Albers, I think, pitched till 2018, 2019. So, yeah, Matt Albers pitched for the Brewers for a while. I think the Cardinals kind of mashed him a little bit.
One of the guys on our men's league team, when we told our team that we were interviewing Brad Lidge for the podcast, his comment back to us was, "Oh yeah, I just looked up his stats. He was pretty good." And the rest of us in the group chat were just like, definitely makes us feel very old that we did not have to look up his stats to know he was good. We actually just
I
got
knew
to
he
see
was
him do
good.
it.
I just didn't watch him pitch.
We got to see him do it. Got to see it happen. Yeah.
I picked Roy Oswalt, former teammate of Brad Lidge. Brad Lidge was kind enough to confirm the Lance Berkman story, which felt very important for me to bring up because we've all heard the wonderful Roy Oswalt story from Lance Berkman about the fact that he was working on his car. Roy Oswalt touched some type of starter, got to jolt up his throwing arm, and literally never had a problem with his throwing arm again. So it was cool that Brad on the podcast confirmed that story.
That's awesome.
Just a quick update. Peyton Tolley threw 5 innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts against Paul Skeens. Did have a 1-run lead. Now has a 2-run lead. Do you guys want to guess who went yard off of Paul Skeens?
Red Sox, Paul Skeens, off of him. Roman Anthony. Why don't you?
It went to right field.
Connor Long.
No, it was Roman Anthony because Roman Anthony's an absolute dog right now.
Hey, shout out Connor Wong. He was atrocious.
He was trying to put up a Caleb Joseph season. No shade at Caleb Joseph.
He's the past month since the trade deadline, he's been hitting 300 with 5 of his 7 season extra base hits in the past month.
Oh yeah, no, I'm aware. I saw that.
Connor Wong's a backup catcher now. He's a backup catcher.
I don't know if anybody remembers this, but Caleb Joseph in 2016 took 141 MLB plate appearances, finished with 3 doubles, no other extra base hits, and a total of 0 RBIs. Hit a cool 174. Connor Wong was on pace to match that season from Caleb Joseph, and has definitely figured it out.
Did you see one of his doubles though? He popped up behind the shortstop, and the shortstop missed it, and it kind of rolled for a little bit, and he got to second.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, it was
Wait, was it? Was it? Yeah, no, it wasn't the shortstop. It was the left fielder. Dylan Beavers overran a ball coming in, and it.
Yeah.
Before you saw the ball come into frame, you just saw Dylan Beavers' hands go up. You just knew it was going over his head, and then it dropped behind him. Yeah, it was a tough situation. That's not what you like to see. No, but I did actually come into tonight with some planned things for us to talk about. So I'm gonna run through those real quick, just so we're all on the same page here. First, I wanted to talk about the star-studded pitching matchups that we had coming into the night. Unfortunately, one of those guys didn't even make it through the first inning, Yuri Perez. I want to talk about home run race predictions. It's getting tighter. Kyle Schwarber definitely helped his case to be the MLB league leader at the end of the year by hitting 4 home runs last night. I want to talk about 2025's most underrated superstar this year. And I'm saying superstar because it's not a guy that you necessarily think is a superstar when you think about it, but the numbers he's putting up are at that level. I don't feel bad if you guys aren't ready. I did tell you this earlier today. So if you did not prepare at all, that's not on me. And then obviously at some point we will get to the fastest 90 seconds in the MLB, and that will be brought to us by Ryan Mallett. So if he's a little quiet right now, it's because he's still like mentally preparing himself to go through that for you guys and bring you the best version of that he can. Okay, so first let's dig through some of these matchups because there are still a few more tonight, but one that isn't being talked about nearly as much. Shane Bieber went against Freddie Peralta tonight. They're in the fifth. I want to talk about Shane Bieber and how absolutely incredible this could be for the Blue Jays going forward through the end of the season. We talked about it last week after he had already had his first outing. That was really good. Tonight, 5 innings, 3 hits, 6 Ks. He's only thrown 78 pitches. I imagine he's going to go back out for the 6th. Freddie Peralta is dueling right against him. 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 Ks. I mean, this is everything you'd want to see out of this matchup. The two best records in baseball going against each other on a Friday night with two of what could be kind of some of their premier guys from a playoff standpoint. How excited are you guys about Shane Bieber and what he's doing? Ryan, I know you have an affinity for Shane Bieber as it is, but a lot of people are saying that he's slowly becoming one of the top free agent pitchers coming into this offseason because of his health now being where it's at and what he's done last outing and now into this one and what he was doing in his rehab stuff coming into this point.
Yeah, it's really simple for me with Bieber. Again, getting the ability to watch him so consistently. The name of the game for Shane Bieber has never been anything other than health, right? He's always had top tier stuff, no matter how you're looking at it, no matter how you evaluate players, whether it is from more of an analytical perspective or from a production numbers perspective. Bieber is just excellent. The other thing that I think has really, really helped here is he has now dealt with not 1, not 2, but 3 relatively major injuries. And every single time Shane Bieber comes back, he does truly seem to come back better. It's a very rare thing to carry as an athlete. We're talking about a guy from a career perspective. And again, I totally agree. Yes, wins are a quote unquote meaningless barometer for starting pitchers. But when he is on the mound, his team wins baseball games. We're talking about a guy that, when healthy through 8 years, he's got a 63-32 record as a starting pitcher. When the differential is that much, in my personal opinion, it shows you the type of competitor you have on the mound. To boot, even with lower, quote unquote, lower end stuff from him now sitting around 93, he has just continued to develop as a pitcher, right? He gets the fact that he cannot overpower every single guy. Through his 2 starts this year, he has a 54.5% ground ball rate, something that Flax would salivate over to see from any type of pitcher. I just love the fact that we continue to see Shane Bieber come back every single time and push the envelope, even though his velos are the things that are moving down. The stuff is still there. The competitiveness is still there. I love it.
I was just going to say real quick, going back to the wins, I think something that's hard about wins is it's very frequent that a guy who can have a really good win-loss percentage is a guy who tends to not face the ace on the other side all the time. Obviously, it's a long season. Everybody's schedules change. But the fact that in division, he's not going against the ace on the other side as consistently as maybe some other guys are helps with that. That being said, there's plenty of 3s and 4s that don't win as many games as he wins, or even 2s. I think the biggest thing is the way he pitches keeps players in the game mentally. It's the kind of game that moves at a quick pace and generally benefits guys on the offensive side to kind of stay in that mode. We talk about it all the time. This is why there's such a big split in production between when guys DH and when they play the field. when you play the field, the comfort in constantly being in the game mentally is really important. If you're sitting behind a pitcher that's striking out 15 guys in a game, it's cool. It's great. Definitely makes your life easier because you're not fighting against runs. But there's a lot of the game where you're just standing around not doing a whole lot. So you got to get yourself back, get the gears going before every single at bat. When Shane Bieber pitches, that's not nearly the case. And I think that also says a lot to why he does find that consistency in his team's winning.
Yeah, I think what he's doing for the Blue Jays is perfect. They don't need him to be 7, 8 innings, 11, 12 Ks. Obviously, they prefer that. But if he goes up there and goes 5, 6 innings of 2-run ball every night with the offense they have, that's all they need out of him right now. And I think he can do that relatively easily. Like I said, he's going to control the game. He's going to battle. He's been in the playoffs before. I think that rotation gearing up heading into the playoffs looks very fun, very gross right now. And I think Bieber was a guy going into the trade deadline that not a lot of people had their eyes on because he hadn't pitched all year, because he was rehabbing. I think the Blue Jays did a good job of realizing who he is, what he can do for that team.
It's a true 5, right? Like it is one of the more true, comfortable 5s going towards the playoffs. They don't have guys in there that they're holding on innings limits. They don't have guys in there that they're, wondering what it's going to be every time they go out, right? Kevin Gausman, Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios on top of Shane Bieber. Every one of those guys is going to go out and throw as if it's their last night. I mean, Max Scherzer hasn't thrown less than 6 innings in 6 straight outings. He's thrown 6+ in 7 of his last 8. You're telling me that you're going to get a Max Scherzer at 41 who's going to throw those innings for you and really hasn't thrown a ton this year and is going to be almost at his peak by the time playoffs come around? I mean, when you start looking at this staff, this is one of the best opportunities they've had going forward to win a World Series or even be in the best position to win a World Series.
I think the other thing that you have to look at with the Blue Jays staff, and it's something that makes me believe they can make a deeper run, is they have 5 guys who have truly been there, done that. They're going to be able to knock that down to 4 guys who have truly been there, done that when the playoffs come around, or mix and match depending on who they think is the best option within that series against those hitters. To boot, I think whoever the quote-unquote odd man out is, depending on the situation, is also a guy who's going to be willing to give innings out of the bullpen because they're at an age where they understand what it takes to win a World Series, and there will be no question about the willingness to do it.
Well, the likelihood is, who do you think that's going to be of these 5 guys, right? Like right now, Shane Bieber's probably that guy. Unless he just continues to go out there and dominate and put up zeros and 0 after 0 after 0, the likelihood is, even though Scherzer's been there, done that out of the bullpen, I think the likelihood is that's probably your guy. I don't think you send Gausman there. I don't think you send Barrios there. Bassett, maybe, but with his pitch mix and his arm control, it's kind of like let him throw as many pitches as you want. And that's how Schneider will roll.
You also have the ability to, again, decide that the odd man out is not going to throw unless they're going to start. I think this, to me, is a great example of where I'd love to see MLB teams actually lean a little bit more on the analytical metrics and historical stats in order to try to put their starting pitchers in the best possible situation. They're not going to play teams that these guys haven't faced, right? They're going to be able to build their pitching staff around who makes the most sense because they have by far the biggest data set with their starters against all of these teams than anybody else is going to be able to put up. Use that to your advantage in this scenario. Well, that's not something every team can say.
Another thing that I think they can also do is looking at the analytics. Almost every pitcher in the MLB gets worse as they go through the order. They have the ability to potentially set up a starter behind one of these guys to go like a 3 inning, then a 4 inning, then toss it to the bullpen. I'm all in on it.
So dumb. You took my idea, but that's what I was gonna say. I mean, the Tigers did it all postseason last year, only because they didn't really have starters to go to that they felt comfortable trying to get 5 or 6 innings out of. So they used an opener and got themselves all the way through 6 innings with an opener and a guy who gave them 5, and then they felt comfortable with their 7, 8, 9. It's not a bad move. I mean, Jeff Hoffman hasn't been great the last week, but Schneider keeps throwing him out there. And you know what? That is the move this time of year. They're not in a
And with
position where they're
those-
fighting for their life. You got to kind of see what kind of mettle a guy has, and this is the time where a guy like a Jeff Hoffman can show that, where he hasn't been great, but he can kind of put it behind him and just start moving forward in the right direction. And I think he will.
If you pair up two of those guys too, that can get you 7 or 8 on a good day.
Yeah,
Like you can
absolutely.
go 4-3, 4-4 with those two. Like
Absolutely agree.
I think there's so many options that they can do, and like bet my favorite thing in baseball, you can never have too much pitching. The Blue Jays are loving their spot coming in October.
I made this comment the other day about the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, they're in the same division. They're the only two teams in the NL with 3 players in the top 10 of WRC plus this year. The only 2 teams. The Diamondbacks have Perdomo, Marte, and Corbin Carroll. Even after trading away Eugenio Suarez. One of those 2 teams spent all offseason stockpiling arms to the point where everybody was annoyed at how many guys they were signing. One of them is still in playoff contention. It's not the Diamondbacks, and it's not the team that didn't stockpile arms. You can never have enough. I couldn't agree with you more. Wow, we went on a nice long tangent there, huh? Just talking about Shane Bieber. Jonah Tong, just because of the pace of the game, only threw 3 innings so far, still rocking a 12-0 lead at this point. But 3 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks. Looks pretty good right now. One of the most disgusting arm angles you've ever seen, especially
Tim Lincecum, baby.
Yeah, especially since Tim Lincecum. It looks very similar. I think it was Keith Hernandez is doing the color for their game, and I was telling Jackson this before you got on. It was like a very John Kruk type of comment, and I thought it was hilarious. They were doing the slow-mo of his delivery, and when he goes to really throw the ball, his head kind of turns and looks away from the plate. And the comment was, well, how does he see where he's throwing the ball? He's turning his head. And the comment back was, well, the base hasn't moved. It's still right in front of him. Just throw it there.
The comment back was, he knows where the plate is. It's in front of him.
Right. Which is just my favorite thing in baseball. It's just like, bases haven't moved in 150 years. If we gotta get our eyes on the base to know where to throw the ball, we got bigger problems.
Totally agree.
Although I will say, in today's age of baseball and fundamentals, it feels like that is a problem. I saw Zach Cozart was talking about this with Ellie, because he talks about Ellie all the time. Just like the footwork for infielders is not what it's been in the past. Like, you want to look at most of Anthony Volpe's errors, it's like, yeah, he just sits back on his heels and stops his feet. He relies on his arm. And then when he does field the ball in that stance, he tries to rush his throw and makes a crappy throw. Like, so much of this could be fixed if guys just started coming and getting the ball a little bit more. But that's the fundamental side of fielding a baseball that I feel like goes by the wayside nowadays. Oh yeah, Andrew, good call out there in the chat. Another good arm going tonight, Blake Snell for the Dodgers. Blake Snell's going against.
So far come back for them.
Yeah, he has. Blake Snell's going against who for the Diamondbacks tonight?
It could be me for all I know.
Stats guru. Guy's all over it. School starts and he stops bringing any information. Unbelievable. No, he's going against Zach Gallen tonight. So Shohei's going deep.
Yeah, nobody right there for sure.
Shohei might go deep first pitch cutter.
Sorry, I've been looking on business finance right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Listen, you need any help, don't contact me. We're running this podcast into the ground as far as business goes. I'm just kidding. But no, you heard it here first. I'm thinking Shohei leadoff bomb tonight. At least, lead off in the bottom of the first, as it were.
Love it.
Cubs Rockies tonight, not an all-time pitching matchup. Cade Horton's throwing tonight, so we'll get to see him for 3 innings. That'll be fun.
Austin
and
Gomber.
then German Marquez. No.
Same thing.
Didn't Austin Gomber got released? He's no longer a Rocky.
Former Cardinal, part of the Arenado trade.
Biggest piece in the Arenado
that's
trade.
yeah. I was gonna say not just a piece, the piece in the Arenado trade. A lot of people unhappy about that still to this day. If you're shocked, don't be. German Marquez coming in with a 5.67 ERA going against a Cubs offense that is slowly getting hotter and hotter. Michael Busch leading off. Also a place where I could see a leadoff home run. Walker Buehler got released today.
Yeah.
You want to
Saw
talk
that.
about guys not getting moved at the deadline and then getting released for nothing in a prove it year.
The Walker Buehler situation is tough across the board because
Yes.
I truly just feel that I think the Red Sox did what they have been doing, which is they looked at Walker Buehler. They saw a guy with a large pitch arsenal, a couple different pitches that are considered potentially plus from a stuff perspective, even with his velos down, and felt very confident that they could change his pitch mix and then therefore change his actual production line. Bueller has been very up and down. He's had quite a few starts that he looked like his old self, if I'm being totally honest. And he's had quite a few starts where it's almost surprising he's in a big league uniform. And that's really hard for me to say from a guy who 3 years ago was one of the brightest young stars in all of baseball prior to the injury. I actually think this is a case where I'm excited to see who gives him an opportunity next year. This is a guy right now who has been throwing with a quote-unquote 7-pitch mix. I expect that to actually get knocked down a little bit in order to really help him hone in on maybe 5 of those pitches, how we pitch righties, how we pitch lefties. But the biggest thing with Buehler is simple. After the injury, his stuff has gone a little bit downhill from a velo perspective. You can't pump it past people anymore the way you used to. Now you really got to learn how to pitch. And he strikes me as the type of guy who has the fire to be able to do that. We all know that in the playoffs, he has a sub 3.5 ERA. Even last year, when he did not look great in the regular season, came out and absolutely competed with his hair on fire in the playoffs. This will be a great pickup for one of those groups that Jackson mentioned earlier in the live stream. I would love to see him in DC. It's just a personal opinion of mine. He's the type of guy I think you can give an opportunity to at 5. And
I'd love to see
to
him
go
in
to
St.
a
Louis.
team who is 100%, but go to a team who will probably sign him on a 1-year prove-it deal. And if he does throw better and pitch well, we'll move him to a contender at the deadline if they are not one.
I think someone's got to sign him in the next 2 days for him to be on a playoff roster. And they don't have to sign him to a major league deal. You could sign him to a minor league deal. He's just got to be in your system before September 1st. I don't see why the Dodgers wouldn't.
Agreed.
Financially, I don't think there's an issue there. Comfort-wise, you know he fits in the clubhouse. You know he's going to be comfortable with Dave Roberts. They're going to be able to have conversations about where they each think he fits best and work him back into a place. It's a depleted bullpen right now. I saw Michael Kopech through in the minors the other day, but the likelihood here is you need arms, just some level of arms. Walker Buehler has shown flashes of being really good this year, and it's very clear that he is a good teammate. It's very clear that he's a team guy. He loved it in Boston. He's very clear about that. But I want to talk about contractually, kind of from a career perspective, right? Came out of Vanderbilt, number 24 overall pick in the first round, was with the Dodgers for a very long time, signed again this year on a 1+1 deal with the option, with the mutual option, which was obviously voided upon being released. It was a $3 million buyout. They retained, he retained $19 million. So, I mean, it's a guy who's 52 plus in career earnings so far. The likelihood is he's not going to need to sign for much to feel like this year he's going to at least get a chance to prove what he can do out of the bullpen again. That's where I think he lands, to be quite honest with you guys. I think he's a less than expensive, potentially high value, long to late man for a team that thinks they're on the cusp of competing next year. That's why I think the Nationals or the Cardinals could fit, because I don't think you need to have him as one of your rotation guys. I think he could be one of those spark plug type of people that could be an opener. He could be a spot starter. He could be a middle relief man. and he for sure can be a back-end bullpen guy that has that psycho mentality when needed to just shut a game down. I think he is so versatile if you can really hone in, like you said, Ryan, a 4-pitch mix that he can truly command, especially working with his off speed as maybe some more primary instead of a fastball that doesn't have the same life to it that it once had, especially after
And
multiple arm issues.
I agree with you on your thought process with Bueller. I think the biggest thing that I look at here is one, I'll go out right now and say that when the Dodgers sign him, because I just don't see any other playoff contender that makes as much sense. I will go out on a limb right now and tell you see him start a playoff game for the Dodgers at some point in time, because something will happen and he will be the first one that they go to.
I know this is going to sound crazy. The only other team I think is like in that mix for me, and Dodgers fans are going to hate this, I think the Padres. I think the Padres are very much in that mix of a team that should be offering him an opportunity. If nothing else, just so he doesn't sign with the Dodgers. But I think he'd have a hard time signing that contract, to be honest.
Yeah, but shout out to what the Padres do, right? You're talking about Ruben Niebla, the freaking pitch doctor. Yeah, let's give Walker Buehler to that guy and see what he does with him, right? I love the thought.
Friend of the pod.
Again, friend of the pod, absolutely. Shout out to Ruben. I definitely still believe he probably ends up as a Dodger, and when he starts the game, don't be surprised. They won't hesitate to do it.
No, I don't think they'll hesitate to do it. I think there's merit in doing that. The only other thing I'll say about Walker Buehler while we talk about saving some money, Walker Buehler was only 2 starts away from another $500,000 bonus. He had already collected 2 of those this year. He had 3 more available, 24 starts, 26 starts, and 28 starts. The likelihood is at the rate he was going, he was probably only going to get to 26 anyways for as long of a leash as they were still giving him. But the fact that he got to 22 and made an extra $1 million and then they released him, I think on the flip side here, you could say they didn't need to give him the 22nd start, but they did. So that was the only other thing I wanted to say there. Real quick, this is going to be a shorter topic. Have you guys thought about your 2025 most underrated superstar?
I got it. I got mine.
You got yours?
Yeah.
I got mine.
Wow. Yeah. All right, Jackson, you start. Give me yours. And if it's the same one as mine, I'm going to be really pissed.
I got Kansas City Royals, third baseman Michael Garcia.
Wow. Okay,
just read off his
numbers.
Read off his stats. 132 games this year, is slashing 297, 360, 461. Has 13 home runs, 32 doubles, 22 stolen bases. 356 WOBA, 125 WRC plus, 4.5 FWAR, which is top 15 in baseball, I believe.
Jeez.
He plays a great defensive third base, and he's been a doubles machine this year, swiping bases, has a little bit of pop. I mean, I think he's been a top 5 third baseman in baseball. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say this year. I mean, he's been absolutely awesome in the lineup.
I love that. That's a good one. While we're going through these in chat, if you have any thoughts on your own underrated superstar of 2025, throw it in the chat. We want to hear from you guys as well. Ryan, who do you got?
I'm gonna go with one that is more of a. If we had seen a full season, I think you'd already feel this way about him, and we're going to see it in 2026. Give me Novelli Marte for the Cincinnati Reds. We're talking about a guy who, in a limited amount of games, only 232 at-bats, has 11 home runs, 41 RBIs, slashing 293, 332, 513. Hit another home run tonight. This is a guy who was playing third base, has moved to left field, hasn't always been pretty, but we're talking about a former top prospect for the Mariners who came over in the Luis Castillo trade. He was the big piece. This guy mashes. And when he is, 1, he did have a suspension issue, and 2, healthy. This is a guy who is a 35-plus home run pop guy for the Reds. I think he's a middle-of-the-order part of their lineup for a long time, and another name that is going to sit around with Elly De La Cruz in that lineup.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's a lineup that is missing some needed pop considerably from what we thought they were going to have this year. But this year I've got Geraldo Perdomo.
That was my other one.
Everybody wants to talk about Ketel Marte. Everybody wants to talk about Corbin Carroll. Geraldo Perdomo has put up an unbelievable season. And you guys knew I was going to go with this one, only because he switch hits. But he's got 15 bombs on the year, 87 RBIs, an 11.2 K percentage, and a 13.6 walk percentage.
Fire me up.
Unbelievable. Absolutely gets me going. Slash line 290, 391, 452, a 368 WOBA, a 5.5 F WAR, and a 136 WRC plus.
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything with Perdomo, what I want people to understand is we have lost our level of patience when young players come up to the major league level.
Oh my God.
We have an expectation that everybody is Juan Soto. They will come up, they will perform. And, you can tell me I'm wrong, but take a breath and really think about it. We have that mentality. Perdomo has been up since 2021. He came up as a very young 21-year-old who has always been known at the time as a contact-first, switch-hitting, highly regarded middle infielder. It's taken 5 years four years for him to truly get to this point, to show us what he can do. He had a 3.5 WAR over 98 games in 2024, battling with some injuries. He's a guy who has basically had every single metric increase from a production perspective since he has been in the league year over year. I want to remind people the level of patience that is required at times with young players. He's a great example of it. Glad to see him hitting at this level. 15 home runs this year, which is more than he had combined over his first 4 years in Major League Baseball.
It's almost more than he has combined across minor league and Major League Baseball before this season. RBIs, 87 RBIs. Like, part of that is being on the right team and guys who can score from second and being in the right position to hit. He's always been a high walk over K guy, which I absolutely love. Like, learn how to take a good at bat and put the ball in play. But it's not just that he's putting the ball in play, it's that he's putting the ball in play with force, and he's doing it in a way that is taking him to the next level. So that's why I say he is my superstar of 2025 that we're not talking about enough. The only other guy...
Super important before you move on from that, guys. Yeah. 81 walks to 67 strikeouts.
That's what I mean.
Do that for a second. We don't see that in this age of baseball very
unless it's a guy who's like basically exclusively hitting singles and a lot of ground balls. So that was another topic, but I don't know that we've got full time for that topic, because first I want to give credence to a new segment that we're going to do here on the live show called 7 minutes on a 7-minute soapbox. It was a new segment until I totally screwed up the title. Now I might just throw the headphones off and be done for the night. Okay, 7-minute soapbox, and I'm going to let Jackson start because I know Jackson has something important he wants to cover about a certain reliever. Jackson, the floor is yours for the start of the 7-minute soapbox. Please don't take all 7 minutes. I also have some thoughts on other topics.
I texted when we were discussing the live tonight. They asked for ideas. I said I need 5 minutes to talk about Aroldis Chapman tonight. That is all I need. I get 3.5. I can live with 3.5. He has been unbelievable this year. He has been the best reliever in baseball. I don't think it's entirely close. He has 3.2 B WAR as a reliever. Are you kidding me? 1.04 ERA. Has a 1.83 FIP, 0.73 WHIP, 401 ERA plus. 401 ERA plus. I think he's given up no hits in his last 14 appearances.
I think it's like 50. I think it's like 50 some batters at this point.
Yeah, like 3. I think he's like 3 hits since July. 0 ERA in the past like however long. He has been unreal this year. 37 years old in an age where we see injuries all the time. He has stood the test of time. Truly unbelievable. Okay, I'm good. I got it out of my system.
I love that. Yeah, no, he's been absolutely phenomenal, especially at this point in his career. I think that it's incredible for a guy who came into the league very specialized doing one thing. And it was, I'm going to throw this ball so hard by you, faster than anyone has ever seen a pitch come at them, and I'm going to do that for a couple of years and dominate. And he did. And then all of a sudden, everyone started throwing harder, and he realized he had to figure it out. And the slider got a little better, and then a little better, and then the splitter got a little better and a little better. And now, like, he could go an entire outing without throwing a fastball and still not give up a hit. He
still
could
throws 102 if need be as well.
if needed. But the ability to work these hitters and work these at-bats and now be on the flip side of truly thinking through it and beating guys not just physically but mentally, no pun intended, has been really, really, really fascinating. And I think that's what we don't talk about enough with him, is because he's still in our minds of this guy, like you said, who will just bail out to the 102 if need be. But the 102 can get hit just like the 104 can from Mason Miller if you don't use it correctly, if you don't do it correctly. And so I think that's the biggest, I guess, props I can give Aroldis Chapman is that for this entire time, I always say closers are closer to being a middle reliever than they are Mariano Rivera. And he might be one of the few exceptions in this league that has been doing it for such a long time in such a high leverage role that he has gotten close to falling back into that middle reliever role a couple of times, but has always worked his way back into that closer role. So, Ryan, do you have any soapbox that you need to hop on before I hop on mine?
Yeah, I'll sprint past mine. I've seen a lot this year about what you do with Jack Leiter of the Texas Rangers. Is he a guy who ends up being a high leverage reliever? Is this a guy who you're only going to see 5 innings out of? Leiter had his best start of the season on the 23rd, 7 innings, 2 hits, something that I'll mention later in the fastest 90 seconds. The biggest piece for me with Leiter is really simple. We're still talking about, again, a 25-year-old kid who is learning how to pitch at every level that he threw at with a 97 plus mile an hour fastball that averages 17.5 IVB. Didn't need to do much to beat people, right? He's sitting over the 97 mark that people are all stressed about, but as Leiter learns to pitch, he will throw less pitches, and I think he will work himself deeper into games. I think we all need to take a breath. We all need to understand how good this kid's stuff is and allow him to develop at the highest level. I'm on Jack Leiter. He's a starter. Don't change that.
And we talked about it pretty well for a pretty good bit with Brad Lidge. And if you haven't listened to that interview, we had Brad Lidge on the podcast this week. He was an unbelievably great guest. If you don't know who Brad Lidge is, he was a closer for the Astros and the Phillies, pitched the last out of the 2008 World Series for the Phillies, and also an archaeologist. Fun things you learn when you get to interview cool people. So really fun conversation. We talked a lot of Billy Wagner. We talked a lot about Brad Lidge and his career and some of the different things he did throughout it. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. If you haven't listened to it yet, go give it a try. Even he said it was a good interview at the end of it. The only other thing I will say, if I can find the game, what day was it that Jack Leiter threw?
The 23rd.
Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't find it. The only other thing I'll say about Jack Leiter in that outing against Cleveland, which is not a high strikeout team either, when you look at that outing for him, averaged fastball is 97, but he brought it all the way down to 93, right? I think there is a rate at which he is starting to learn how to pitch and not just throw. And I think that that's part of taking on the challenge of knowing what your miss is. And this is the thing we talked about with Brad Lidge was, it's not about trying to get up to 98 so that you can keep beating people. If that's your threshold, then learn how to work within that threshold. Learn how to be successful within that threshold and get a little uncomfortable taking on the challenge of figuring out how to still get guys out when you're not up over 98. So that was one thing I found interesting, was that he was able to work the fastball down a little bit in that outing and still did throw pretty well. My soapbox will be quick. I think that I fight for the right words when I describe this topic, but the topic largely is how we teach hitting the baseball. And something I talked about with Ryan was like, Teacher man is not my favorite thing in the world. HLP, not my favorite thing in the world. It's not how I was taught to hit. When you talk to ex-big leaguers that did it at the highest level, it's not the mental cues and the focuses that they took into hitting the baseball. It's not the direction and the bat path that they consistently thought through. Ken Griffey Jr., always hit down on the ball, backspin, head high line drives right through the pitcher's head. Even when you talk to a guy like Aaron Judge, what's he trying to do? He's trying to hit head high line drives, middle and backside of the field. The feels and the way he gets there are different. Aaron Judge is an anomaly. And I think my biggest struggle is that on the flip side of guys who study the swing and understand the swing and try and change the swing for the benefit of making contact with the baseball, we have a large subset of people that want to teach a baseball swing and talk about hitting that have never done it before. And their goal is to create and manufacture a result. Hitting is not a game where you can manufacture a result based on an average standard movement, because there's way too many variables outside of your control. The best video, Ryan sent it to us today, was the 4 swings that Kyle Schwarber took to hit all 4 of his home runs last night. A, none of them were the same. B, his hand path was directly to the ball and on a downward trajectory. And C, Kyle Schwarber is another anomaly in this game. Nobody swats the ball like he does and launches it out of the ballpark 457 feet. It's a different type of swing. Trying to recreate what he does is not the way to teach hitting a baseball. And then the last thing I'll say is, it's fine if you want to teach people how to use your body to get power into a baseball swing. Teach people how to actually hit the baseball before you get there. It's fine if you want to talk about coiling the backside, using the back hip, getting yourself to the right angle. But if you have somebody who needs to work on actually getting the bat to the ball and control the barrel and even try to do those things, got to work on that first. We've got to stop talking about how the optimal impact point and the optimal bat path to get to that point is XYZ. Come to us and we'll teach you how to do that optimal thing. It's a waste of time and it's nonsense. So that's my soapbox.
The one thing I'll say on this, because I do have a little bit that I wanted to bring up with you saying that, was, as everyone knows, I'm an extremely analytical guy. I got to ETSU my freshman year. Our pitching coach the same way. Our hitting coach, he's in like his 30s, 40s, great guy, but he's not a very analytical guy. I first got here, I was like, me and him disagreed on everything. It just didn't work out. Or, like, he's a great guy. I have a great relationship with him, but we disagreed on a lot of hitting philosophy stuff. And I first got here, I'm like, we're never going to hit. Like, not going to go well. If you know anything about ETSU the past 2 years, we have mashed. The way he teaches
he hit the baseball.
has been awesome. I've learned so much from him. He's very old school, and like all fall, he's teaching guys how to go backside. We're not pulling the ball. We're not pulling the ball. We're not pulling the ball. Learn how to go backside. Learn how to go gap to gap. And then when it comes season time, if you get your pitch, hit it 450 feet. Just very much learning how to use each swing. Every guy's different. And yeah, I've seen it firsthand on like, we've had 2 hitters drafted the past 2 years.
Yep.
Both of them are doing great in the minors right now. It's been very impressive just to see that and learn under him.
I think the one thing I want everybody to take away from this for people who are more analytical minded is when you play the game at a high enough level, you hear feel versus real on a regular basis. And one of the things that I think it's really important for people to understand with that statement is, are you physically working down to every baseball? No, you're not. We get that, right? However, it depends on what we're talking about, right? Your hand path physically is going to send the baseball down. However, when you deliver the barrel of the bat to the baseball, no, the barrel of your bat might not be quote unquote working down at the baseball. I think it's something that we all need to do a really good job of trying to help each other understand, but each side has to have a little bit of an open mind, right? Analytics and statistics are tools in order to help make you better. However, you have to utilize them as tools, not answers. And I hope people understand that.
Agreed.
I think with that, we are on to the last piece of tonight's show. And the last piece of tonight's show will come from Ryan. Jackson has the stopwatch ready. And Ryan, the floor is yours.
All right, let's do it. The fastest 90 seconds in baseball, flash style. Here we go. Starting in the AL East, the top of the AL East continues to push towards 3 playoff teams via the wild card. The Red Sox called up Peyton Tooley to reinforce the rotation, and Roman Anthony continues to slash across the board. 366, 413, 610 over his last 10 games. The Yankees are hitting the cover off of the baseball, 7-3 over their last 10, mashing 33 home runs within that span. However, their defense continues to be fundamentally questionable. Toronto continues to hold a 3.5 game lead in the division, while the playing middle of the road baseball throughout this stretch. The Rays and the Orioles are showcasing young talent and will move on. The AL Central, the Tigers held a commanding 8.5 game lead in the division. Riley Green hitting 4 home runs through the 5-5 stretch. The Royals are 3 games out of the wild card, with the Pass Squatch absolutely mashing baseballs over their last 6.4. The best mark in the division through that time. The Guardians continue to hang on by an absolute thread. Parker Messick with 2 electric starts since getting called up, 7 innings of shutout baseball against the Rays last week. The White Sox continue to show promise, but remain a non-factor, and the Minnesota Twins continue to fall since their trade deadline exodus. Moving to the AL West. In the West, the Athletics are hot, 7-3 over their last 10. Nicky Nukes, a.k.a. Big Irish, or whatever you'd like to call him, continues to hit home runs. Welcome back to Jacob Wilson, who has stepped right in since his IL stint. The Mariners and the Astros are battling at the top of the division. The Stros still hold a 2-game lead. However, neither of them making headway over the last week. The Rangers hold on some hope, 4.5 games out of the wild card. Jack Leiter continues to put up good numbers, as we said earlier in the live stream. Moving to the NL West, 4 out of 5 teams are 6-4 over their past 10. The Padres do not have the tiebreaker. The Dodgers hold that for the season series, but Mason Miller, only 2 runs over his last 10 appearances. The Dodgers continue to roll with Betts, Freeman, Rojas, and Call, all hitting over 300 through the last 6.4. The Giants slide. However, they do have solid momentum with a Jung-Hoo Lee walk-off single on Thursday. The Diamondbacks 6-4 continue to be a non-factor, and the Rockies trying to find a 420 run differential at the current moment. In the NL Central, the Brewers continue to lead the division by 6.5 games and have a and have been on a 4-6 slide over their last 10 after winning 14 in a row. The Cubs are starting to play better baseball, and the outfield's starting to hit. That's via Kyle Tucker, who had 3 home runs early in the week. The Reds are trying to make a charge to the wild card. Novelli Marte homering tonight and hitting another home run as well. The Cardinals and the Pirates have faded, but the Pirates are playing better baseball than expected at 7-3 over the last 10. And finally, the NL East. They're hitting 386 with runners in scoring position in August. The Mets are, I'm so sorry. With Flax laughing, I can't even do this. Nolan McLean and Jonah Tong will reinforce that young group with some hungry arms. The Phillies remain 5 games up in the division. Kyle Schwarber mashing 4 home runs last night. The Marlins, Braves, and Nationals, non-factors, but they'll showcase talent for the rest of the year.
Okay, well, if you guys enjoyed if you enjoyed Ryan's rendition of the fastest 90 seconds in the MLB, he'll be back next week.
Flax, I would you to
we're
guess
on minute
the time.
number 4. We were easily into the 4-minute range there.
Just 3:23, 3 minutes.
Yeah,
23
screw
seconds.
you. Your first one was like 250. I don't want to hear it.
You're a full 30 seconds, 40 seconds higher than that. It's almost a full minute longer.
You're on pace for like 5 minutes after the AL.
when you moved off of the AL East, I was like, no chance. Oh man,
Sorry.
That's my favorite. It's my favorite thing that we do. That's all I got. Like we said before, Brad Lidge interview. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on YouTube, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify. We got an hour with former World Series closer Brad Lidge. It was absolutely phenomenal. He even said so himself at the end of the interview, if you were curious, if that gives you any more interest in going to listen to it. But I think that's it for us. Anything else? Any closing words? Any saved rounds, as they say?
I don't know.
It's my favorite.
Have a good
it's
weekend.
my favorite.
Enjoy baseball.
It's my favorite next 2 months as a sports fan. World Series, college football, NFL. I'm so dialed. Schoolwork will not be getting done a whole lot.
I believe the NHL is also coming back. in that time period.
Yeah,
that
sure.
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to those Southern boys unless you're from Florida. Florida dominates hockey right now somehow. All right, well, that's it for us tonight. Thank you all for joining. This has been Baseball Unstitched live every Friday night, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain Time. With that, everybody have a great holiday weekend.
Peace.